Good morning, everyone. Lots going on as usual. Today is Monday, May 19th, Victoria Day Monday. So hopefully you've got a day off, or it'll be a light day at work if you do have to work. Biden's newest old scandal is, well, he's got cancer, and they're saying, we can't bother old man Biden because he's got cancer, so just leave him alone. It's very interesting because they use this kind of stuff these kind of tricks to get sympathy, to play for sympathy, and to get you to move on from the scandal because of wanting to provide sympathy for whatever's happened. And in this case, it's cancer. And so it's a very interesting situation happening in the US. We've got some US news later in the show. UK Brexit is being undone with fishing deals and trade deals. And the interesting part about that and how that matters to Canada is I think this is exactly what's going to happen with Alberta. If you let the people who are currently in charge, including Smith and the UCP, or United Conservative Party, UCP, I got it right. If you let them do this, they're not going to do this for you. They're going to do everything they can to scuttle it. And they're going to say, no, everybody in Alberta wants to stay a part of Canada. It doesn't matter that Canada is owned by China and is currently working for China at the federal level and at most provincial levels as well. It doesn't matter. They want to stay Canadian. And I think that Alberta should be able to determine by the people who live there what they want to do, not by the politicians who run it. So I think that they should be able to self-govern. I don't know if the people in Alberta want to leave, but it seems like a conversation should be had, honestly. And if you allow it to go through the current channels that it's going through right now, it's not going to be done, honestly. You need to have a group of citizens who are heading it up, a group of citizens who are counting the votes, a group of citizens who are putting the package together, and you walk in and you put it on Danielle Smith's desk and you say, this is it. You're done. See ya. Get out. And the structure has to be like that. Otherwise, you're going to get screwed like they're getting screwed in the UK right now. And they're undoing Brexit in a way that the tax-paying citizens won't be able to undo easily with a vote like they did before, right? You see what they saw that weakness, and now they're shoring up to protect against that through doing it through other means. And you're going to get that with Alberta as well. I don't mean to harp on this, but my goodness. Here is what else? Collapsing healthcare in Canada. People are having emergencies and waiting 6 hours with no painkillers. That's terrible. Chinese triads and Mexican cartels are using Vancouver ports to traffic drugs into the United States. And Kash Patel knows. But I've got another clip with Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. And you would think that this is going to be like a great clip that's going to really improve your confidence in all of the stuff that's going on in the Trump administration. And no, it's the opposite. Quite the opposite indeed. So lots to get to. Let's get to it. First, we've got to start with drugs and moving drugs across the border. And where are all the drugs coming from if Donald Trump 100% shut down the southern border? Have you heard Mr. Homan talking about this? We've 100% shut it down. It was 92%, I think, a week after Donald Trump took office and had Homan in place. And now it's virtually 100%. No more people coming across the southern border. In one of the interviews, I'm going to show you with Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, they're talking about how Mexico helped them shut down the southern border. So how's all the fentanyl getting into the United States? The United States says Canada. It's Canada. That's where it's coming from. It's Canada. Vancouver, actually. They know, right? And we're about to get pulled over, and there's going to be a big citation. Sam Cooper is covering this story quite extensively, and he says in an explosive Sunday interview, I'll show it to you in a second, that will place tremendous pressure on Prime Minister Mark Carney's new Liberal government. FBI Director Kash Patel alleges that Mexican cartels, Chinese Communist parties, operatives, and Iranian threat actors have forged a new axis of criminal cooperation using Canada's porous northern border and the Port of Vancouver, not the southern Mexican border, as their preferred entry point to flood fentanyl and terror suspects into the United States. And so that's not good, right? One of the big trade sticky points was the fentanyl stuff. And we said, don't worry, it's only 2%. It's very little. It's very small. Apparently not. Sam Cooper says, I'll repost this without the paywall tomorrow. That's today. So if you're interested, check this out. And he says, the whistleblower details the exact threats and Vancouver's entry point indicated by Kash Patel. Yet this wasn't an election issue. I'm the leading reporter in the nation for good reason. And so tooting his own horn a little bit there. And he says, among many examples that could suggest organized crime has penetrated the Canadian Border Service Agency system, Saburan discloses an especially shocking case. A CBSA unit learned that a band of armed men clad in combat fatigues appeared to be smuggling illegal migrants across Quebec's border, which was the cover-up which was then covered up internally. Sabuin says possibly to the benefit of foreign mafia, human traffickers, drug smugglers, and terrorists. Are you kind of seeing what's going on here? Is the pattern emerging for you? It seems very clear. He's here saying Mexican cartels, Chinese Communist Party, Iranian threat actors in Vancouver, but also people are human trafficking across Quebec's border as well. Foreign mafias, traffickers, drug smugglers. The Vancouver method's gone national, right? And they're doing it everywhere there's easy access. And I'm sure they're thinking to themselves, why haven't we done this earlier? Mexico was so difficult. This Canadian thing, very cushy, right? Here's Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. And Mark Nixon says Canada is now responsible for 100% of America's fentanyl crisis, according to the new FBI chief. Whoops, right? Like that's not good. Elbows up, everybody. Here's some fentanyl. Here we go.
In the first 2-3 months that we've been in the seat under Donald Trump's administration, he has sealed the border. He has stopped border crossings. So where's all the fentanyl coming from still? Where's the trafficking coming from still? Where are all the narco traffickers going to keep bringing this stuff into the country? The northern border. Our adversaries have partnered up with the CCP and others, Russia, Iran, on a variety of different criminal enterprises, and they're going and they're sailing around to Vancouver and coming in by air. And the sheer tyranny of distance of the northern border and the lack of cooperation from federal authorities in prior administrations to actually firm up that northern border is what's causing a continuation of violent crime. Now, we're focused on it, and we're calling our state and local law enforcement partners up there. But you know who has to get to step in is Canada, because they're making it up there and shipping it down here. And I don't care about getting into this debate about making someone the 51st state or not, but they are our partner in the north. And say what you want about Mexico, but they helped us seal the southern border. The facts speak for themselves. The border that's open, I'll give you a statistic that I gave to Congress that nobody was paying attention to. Over 300 known or suspected terrorists crossed into this country last year illegally. Known or suspected terrorists, not illegals. Not just illegals, known or suspected terrorists. 85% of them came in through the northern border. Wow. This year, 100 known.
Okay, so I don't know that he's saying 100%, but still pretty concerning. And this is the FBI chief and Dan Bongino, and that's pretty interesting. Now, in the same, I think it's the same interview, similar interview, recent interview. I think it's the same interview. She asks them, so Epstein killed himself? And they say, sure did. And I thought to myself, not so good, not so good. For real. Here we go.
You said Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. People don't believe it.
Well, I mean, listen, they have a right to their opinion, but as someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor, who's been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan Detention Center, who's been in segregated housing, you know a suicide when you see one, and that's what that was.
He killed himself. You want me to? I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
I know it's hard work. You said Jeffrey.
I don't know that. Segregated housing, detention center, Metropolitan Detention Center, prisons. Okay, I've seen suicides. I know when people kill themselves. Jeffrey Epstein killed himself because of all of my work in what is this? Segregated housing. Come on, is that believable? I think that's the most ridiculous word salad I've ever heard. And don't believe it? Yeah, I mean, tell me your deep state without saying I love trans women. You know, come on, right? I don't know. I love the Britney cringe. So yeah, this was my reaction to Dan Bongino and Kash Patel saying Epstein killed himself. No, for realsies, they killed themselves. Super serial. I don't really think so. So, but all of that is just to say they've been flipped. We've gone on publicly to correct the record that, we're going to sit here and say, yeah, he definitely killed himself. And this is amazing. Pauly calls them, what is this? Hostage interviews. It seems like you guys go out and you parrot our talking points. You tell your mega right-wing crazy people what we want you to tell them, or else. And then here we get this. Skeptical. Color me skeptical, right? I don't believe it. And it gives me doubts, right? Gives me cringy doubts about the rest of everything that's going on. But at the same time, I still don't think that if this fails, then there are no political options, because people are looking at Trump as the last political option. And I mean, what happens after that? We're going to get really mad. We're going to start writing letters then. I'm going to send an email to my representative. This is not going to work. So it's one of those things where people are waiting to see if this whole thing works. People in the United States are waiting to see if this whole Trump thing works. Is it a war? Is he slow walking this on purpose? Are his main lieutenants coming out and using Epstein killed himself talking points for some other reason? Who knows? I don't know. But I don't know that there was anybody else who's going to do anything that Trump said he was going to do. He seems to be doing some of those things. So is it Trump's unwillingness to do the things that he said? Is it the people he's put in place unwillingness to do the things that they said? So are they lying to him and then he can't be seen to be getting involved? So it goes back to that tyranny. Do you want Trump tyranny, or do you want globalist tyranny that results in a third world result? I don't know. And is Trump tyranny better than the other one? It would seem so in the short term, but in the long term, is it? I don't know. But I think that before this whole thing is done, does this go hot? Does this war go hot? Does this conflict go hot? Do people start talking about this more plainly? Because I think that there's a war going on behind the scenes. So we'll see. Behind the scenes, meaning anybody who can stymie or stifle Trump's agenda does, including people on his own team, Tulsi, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and Dan Bongino. Like all of these people who seemed to be on board with cleaning out, draining the swamp and the whole deal are now saying, all the same stuff that the swamp said. So it seems very, very suspect. So is it Trump's fault? Is it the administration's fault? Did Trump lie and then now he's baiting and switching? Or is he trying to do this, but the president's powers are limited and I mean, when Barr was in, it seemed that President Trump and Barr were at odds because Trump wanted Barr to do certain things, but Barr didn't do certain things. And he said, this is plainly criminal, do something about it. And they never did anything about it. So is that Trump playing kabuki theater to make it look like he wants something done when really he doesn't? I don't know. I don't see it that way. Is this people he put in place turning on him because of unseen influence? Maybe, but I don't know. So same thing happened in 2016 during that agenda, or that administration is happening now. And I don't know where to lay the blame. Again, is it Trump's fault, or is there a conflict going on, or was this the plan in the first place? I don't know. I have no idea. So we have to wait and see. And again, I don't think Kamala Harris fixes any of the inherent problems that Trump seems to be trying to fix with Doge and some other things. So there are beneficial things that seem to be happening. But again, is that part of the kabuki theater? We have to wait and see. I really don't know. Anyway, let's move on just a little bit back to Canada. And Vesper's talking about the Elections Canada situation with all of the piss poor job they did with this election and the election rigging and all the rest of it. Here is the chief electoral officer from 1990 to 2007. And he says, I already wrote to the government before the 2021 elections and said that there should be a person sitting on that committee who is independent, who's not responsible to the prime minister. So he's talking about concerns about the integrity of our elections. And he's somebody who would know, right? And I don't really have a specific clip I want to show you. We'll just watch a minute of it and I'll cut it off when it makes sense. But I think stuff like this, there's a broad group of people, diverse people from different backgrounds who support different things, who have serious questions about this, up to and including a former chief electoral officer. So if you have questions about this and you think that you should feel bad about that, no, man, they're supposed to work for us. These people at every level are supposed to work for us, and they are lying to us and using the apparatus of the state to lie to us. And I think that we should hold them accountable. You shouldn't feel bad about having questions. They should feel bad that they've done such a bad job that people don't have any kind of faith in the institutions that we've built, right? Like our justice, our police, our elections. I don't have any faith in these institutions because these people have abused their responsibility to the point of, well, I mean, the bloc is taking them to court in order to follow the rules for by-elections when elections are close. So they have invalidated themselves. They have burned their own credibility, and that's their fault. So you shouldn't feel bad. Here's just quick part of this exchange. Here we go.
The Prime Minister points to the Critical Election Incident Public Protocol Panel, which has, as you know, concluded interference from the Chinese Communist Party did not compromise any riding results nor the outcome of an election. How much weight does that carry with you?
Modicum amount, not more than that. We don't know by which criteria these judgments were arrived at. They asserted that, and we were not apprised of the events, and we were not apprised of the standards by which they arrived at those conclusions. The part of the issue here is that committee is formed of, I think it's 5 very senior officials in the Government of Canada, who all reply to the Government of Canada for their activities, for their responsibilities, which they did. But the criteria they utilized, we don't know. And what happened to the reports, we're just finding out now.
Mm-hmm. So what then do you make of the 2 investigations ordered by the Prime Minister and the appointment of David Johnston as Special Rapporteur?
But in terms of the 2 agencies that will be essentially looking into what they've done, I'm much more interested in the fact that there should be a public inquiry. You see, the reason why we need to go to the bottom of this is because this occurred in the election in 2019, of which we were not apprised. The election in 2021, again, we were not apprised. And there's an election looming eventually. And the reason we need to know what happened is that so we can try to prevent it's happening again. But what really matters is reinstalling the trust of Canadians in the process. And that trust has to extend to the fact that we know enough now to know that we can prevent this from happening again, whether it's from China or some other entity from around the world that is not Canadian. That is the issue here.
Well, I think fundamentally it doesn't need threat actors from around the world. The people who are counting the votes are throwing votes out for Pierre Poilievre. And that's being held up by Elections Canada, and the Liberals are recounting their way to a majority. And that's being overlooked. Fine, no problems, everything's good. And so we have some serious issues. We don't even know who the Chinese traders were in 2019, 2021, and so on and so forth, in order to be able to not vote for them in this most recent election. We didn't know, and that's intolerable. That adds less credibility to the current sitting government because we were unable to be read in on the information about who worked for China. And now, I mean, it's all the same people in charge. Why would I think that they don't still work for China? I think they probably do. Here's our grab bag of governance. And Mark Carney has asked a simple yes or no question. And he draws this out and tries to make this about every individual house. The reporter asks him, do you want house prices to come down? Which, if you want to buy a house, you want house prices to come down. If you own a house, you don't want the price of your asset to drop. If you bought in at $500,000 and your house is worth $1 million now or more, you don't want your $1 million asset, right, to be devalued, right? So how dare that come up? So there's an inherent wedge. So he's trying to ride that bridge. He's trying to go on both sides and say, I'm not going to devalue your asset. I'm going to do supply side bullshit and try and get people into housing and give them enough money, which is never going to happen. Like, it's just never going to happen. $500,000 for a house? Come on. It doesn't make any rational sense to put yourself into, for a first house. You can't do that. But what he's going to try and do is thread that needle and say, we're going to inject enough money to new home buyers so they can save money on new houses, get into the market, and then they've got $1 million asset too. And everybody's got $1 million assets. And he's supposed to be the smartest guy in the room? Are you kidding me? Come on, please, right? And so he says this is more complicated than that. And it's not. Yes or no question. He says, well, what about the boomers? Here we go. And I'm not trying to drive any wedge. He is. Okay, I'm just trying to point it out. Here we go.
There, we did hear yes or no from Gregor Robertson, though. He said no. So where do you stand on that?
Well, it's not first off, it's not a yes/no question. It's not a yes/no question.
It was for him, though.
Well, I'm answering the questions right now if I can. Because it's a question which relates to different time horizons and it relates to different houses. So we are cutting GST on new homes. Okay, so that affects the price of new homes. That affects the cost, is a better way to put it. The all-in cost for people. It's up to $50,000 savings on the average home price.
I just want to make sure everybody's clear about what removing the GST from new homes means. It means a brand new build. It doesn't mean I'm buying a new house and going from my house to another already built house. If you're going from my house and building a new house, now you don't have to pay the GST. If you buy another house, I don't think there's GST on buying a used house, buying an already built house, somebody lived in house. But there may be. And it's interesting because they're targeting specific people. And a lot of people don't understand that. That GST isn't on. If you don't buy a new house, even if you're a first-time home buyer, the GST that he's talking about isn't on an already lived-in house. You can't apply those savings there. It doesn't work. The only way GST is charged is on a new product, right? And so, well, in this case, the house. And so he says, we're going to get rid of that. And so it's just interesting to me because the details are often overlooked and they matter because people think, oh, he's helping everybody. No, not so much. Only if you buy this very narrow product, like only this group of houses qualifies for this savings. Everything else, either it doesn't apply or like the price you see is the price you get. You're not making any savings there, right? Like it's just not there. That's it. So is that misleading? Kind of, right? It's playing to low information voters who don't know the difference.
A little more than that, actually, if you look at the greater Toronto area. So there's significant savings for people. Measures to reduce development charges over the course of the next 5 years, cut those development charges in half. Those lower the cost for those homes that are built over the course of the next 5 years. Those savings will be passed on to people. The overall level of housing prices, though, is not so that amount of activity is not enough necessarily to affect the overall level of house price. It does affect those types of homes and people who can buy those types of homes. Once we increase as a country the rate of home building, then that is going to make home prices much lower than they otherwise would be. But that's a medium-term effect. And so that depends where house prices would have otherwise been at that point. So look,
this is the same thing as Justin Trudeau and the Liberals saying we're going to double the housing construction, right? He's saying when we start really building houses, that's when you're going to see the solutions come. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. He's lying, like he usually does because he's a liar. Juno News is reporting following the termination of a city employee, the city of Richmond has reported nearly $295,000 in unaccounted for gift cards, leading to a forensic audit and an RCMP investigation. So a city employee left and took $300,000 worth of gift cards? Wouldn't you think that that's going to be easily tracked? This is a bad plan. This is a bad plan and you should feel bad. Vincent says, apparently fixing Canada isn't a priority. Ever wonder why China's infiltration in Canada seems like a distraction? You can talk about China. Wait until you find out who the other players are. Yeah, here's Anita Anand, our foreign minister, I believe, Minister of Foreign Affairs. No, not Melanie Jolie anymore. So, I mean, that's something. It's not really an improvement. Anita Anand is just as bad. Anyway, she says today, Mark Carney and Isaac Herzog, President Isaac Herzog of, I don't know where he's at. The president of the state of Israel. Oh, great. Discussed the urgent need for Hamas to release all hostages, an immediate ceasefire, the resumption of urgent life-saving humanitarian aid for civilians, a two-state solution. If you know anything about Israel and Palestine, the two-state solution has been floated for years. Bill Clinton was trying to negotiate a two-state solution during the TSA 800 flight fiasco. Okay, like the two-state solution is dead as a doornail. Like it's dead. Stop beating that horse with a stick. It's dead. It's dead. So it's interesting that this is coming up now. Anyway, Hamas to lay down its weapons and have no role in Gaza. I understand she's the foreign minister, etc. But I don't think we should be telling foreign states what they should be doing, all the rest of this stuff. And we need to focus on Canada. We have issues in Canada that are like, we have some huge issues with Ukraine, huge issues with funding all of these foreign issues that we shouldn't be. And instead of focusing on Canada and using the apparatus of foreign minister to have a lens of how can I create a situation where we're in a deal where Canada benefits and your country benefits, everybody benefits. Instead, we're talking about a two-state solution for Israel. We don't have the clout or capacity or military anything or money to back up any of this stuff. We can't back it. This is nice words that mean nothing. Like, it is insulting if you understand what's going on. And Canada's playing dress up like we're a pretend G7 country, because we sure as heck aren't. We don't, oh yeah, we'll get to paying NATO's 2% at some point in the future. Never, right? Like, we don't have a plan for that, despite Carney saying that he does. Remember, he lies. So it's one of those things where I think that if you watch Trump execute foreign policy, he's doing it on behalf of the American people with a clear goal of improving the American situation, bringing in investments into America, having reciprocal trade deals, having reciprocal deals that benefit both countries. And our guys are saying, oh, wouldn't a two-state solution be nice? Idiots. Like, honestly, like, it's mind-blowing, because this is supposed to be our politics. This is supposed to be the smartest people representing us. This is supposed to be our leadership blazing the path. And what are they doing? Fighting for Israel? Okay, great. So when are we going to talk about Canada, guys? Because Israel is not my priority. Never has been. And Ukraine, not my priority either. Canada's my priority. Have you noticed the invasion? And again, I was recently in the States. When you go into a Walmart, it was mostly white people working there. When you go into a fast food place, mostly white people working there. You don't notice until you come back here and you go into a Walmart or a fast food place, and it's not mostly white people working there. That's weird. What happened? How come just down the road, like a couple of hours down the road, they have no invasion, but they're being invaded by the southern border, but still no invasion going on, and we've got an invasion, people flying in and becoming Canadians, and what? And our government is fighting for Israel? I mean, come on, right? Like, we are not their priority, and that's a problem. Massive problem. Stevens says Canada was forced to detain a person at YVR Airport. I think that's Pearson Airport, after Sweden filed an Interpol notice. Sweden alleges he's a drug kingpin and a launderer, waging a proxy war to destabilize Sweden. Canada's refugee board released him to a friend in Vancouver as long as he promises not to use the dark web. Cool. I don't think our politicians understand what the dark web is or how to use it. And if you're using the dark web, you're probably able to cover your tracks, right? And I understand maybe they're going to watch your networks and things like that. But have you heard of VPNs? Stephen continues, despite the wild story, there's only one article in English covering the case and discusses how Canada is struggling to deport him now. So here's the article here if you're interested. The link will be in the description. It's just goes to how broken all of our institutions are, from our police to our justice system and so on and so forth, to the election system and more. And it's concerning because we're in a situation where, again, our politicians are focusing on foreign wars instead of securing our streets, securing our borders, making sure that we don't have people coming to shelter here being found out and then being sent to their house to be watched over by their friends and or family. It just doesn't make any sense. Here's the emotional roller coaster continues on the ostriches, and we're going to have to say goodbye to the stream soon, but we've got enough time for the ostrich story. We'll finish it at the grab bag of governance before we carry on. But the Mestry says, why is Inspection Canada unwilling to test these birds? And the CFIA says BC ostrich cull will go ahead despite regional district refusing to accept the carcasses. And they're not even going to tell people when they're going to do it. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency, CFIA, says it's going ahead with a cull of nearly 400 ostriches living in southeastern BC over fears of avian flu, which is bullshit. It doubled down on its decision on Saturday, despite local regional districts passing a motion earlier this week saying it will not accept the birds' carcasses at local landfills after they are killed until the CFIA conducts more tests on the birds and makes those results public. The federal agency told CBC News it's aware of the motion. The CFIA will begin the humane depopulation and disposal of the birds. Depopulation of the birds. It's quite sanitized language. Thanks, CBC. at the infected premises with veterinary oversight. Operational plans and dates will not be shared with the public in advance, the CFIA said in a statement. So the CFIA's statement is very carefully worded as well. We have a duty to protect Canadians from the serious potential risks that avian influenza presents to our people and our economy. So it doesn't matter the reality of the situation. We are going to go ahead with this, whether you like it or not. So that's pretty wild. Ari says what's worse is that you're in a 6-hour ER line behind people who've been in Canada for 10 minutes, hate Canada, and haven't, nor will they ever pay a dime of tax in this country, nor will their 5 kids. This is the most galling part of the wait. So here's Mia, and she says, this afternoon, my 13-year-old daughter had an accident. She almost certainly has a broken wrist and a concussion. We've been at the ER for 6 hours already, and she hasn't been given so much as a painkiller despite repeated requests. Canada's healthcare system is broken. Yep, absolutely 100%. And it is very concerning because they're not going to fix it. They're going to use it as an excuse to bring in more people and say this is the only way our healthcare system is going to be able to survive if we bring in foreign healthcare workers. Pierre Poilievre, that was a signature part of his platform. I'm gonna fast track foreign healthcare workers. So pretty crazy stuff, right? And people are mad that he didn't win. So it's pretty incredible. So there's a lot going on. There's still a lot going on. Tariffs. Okay, we'll do tariffs. We'll do, it's 31. Now I got to say goodbye to the stream. Thanks for watching, everybody, on the stream, and we'll catch you tomorrow. And for everybody else, we'll do tariffs. Hello, everyone. Thanks very much for watching. This is just a short version of a longer show. If you'd like to get the whole show, you can go over to CanadaPoly.com and sign up for a subscription. Just look in the drop-down tab for Shop and Donate and look for subscriptions, and you'll get immediate access to the full show. Love to see you. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful